They're not in the Champions League. They're not in the Europa League. They're not even in the Conference League. But we did not forget them. Why? Because they hit new depths of mediocrity. Manchester United were beaten by League 2 Grimsby. If you are not familiar with how the English football system works, there's the Premier League, the one that we all watch and love. There's the Championship, the one that most of us watch and don't love because we watch it for betting purposes. And there's the English League One, that's the third tier of English football. Then under that third tier that nobody is really watching, at least I speak for this side of the world, I'm sure people in England do. Then there's the League 2. Grimsby Town are not first in that league. They're not second. They're not third. They were fourth at the time they faced Manchester United. They've gone on to lose after beating Man United, so they have even dropped further down from fourth. That is the team that took a 2-0 lead against Manchester United in the first round of the Carabao Cup. And then even though United came back to equalize, they ended up losing on penalties 12-11. Congratulations to Grimsby Town. The superior team advances to the next round. And they've gone on to make fun of Ruben Amorim and Manchester United in the subsequent video. Granted, they lost their next match. Who cares? Greetings and salutations. You are welcome to this very, very independent production. It's the T&T Talk Sports show. My name is Tunde Young, one half of the dynamic duo. The other T could not be here today, unavoidably absent, Chelsea and Bayern. But we miss him, we love him, and the show absolutely must carry on. There's a whole lot to talk about today. There's a lot that happened over the weekend. But first, my highlight of the weekend. I needed to tell somebody about it. I could not wait to get to my own platform, that's the T&T Talk Sports show. Thank you very much to everybody that subscribes on YouTube and listens on Spotify as well. Please, if you are watching on YouTube and you have not subscribed, please absolutely do that right now. Right this second. Subscribe right now. Yes, before you even get to anything. Subscribe and, of course, like the show. Rate it on Spotify as well. Anyway, back to my gist. I watched the F1 movie, guys. I watched the F1 movie over the weekend. And it's appropriate to talk about this on this show because number one, it's my show. Did I mention that it's my show? Number two, it's a sports movie, so I felt like it went right along with the theme. And I really enjoyed it, which is not on brand for me because I typically don't like sports movies. Sports movies, I mostly always find them cheesy. The sports movies I like are the movies that have a sports theme, that are about sports, but not necessarily about the sport. Like, for example, Draft Day. One of my favorite movies of all time. I liked it because it's an NFL movie with, real NFL teams and, simulating real NFL draft situations, even though it's a fictional story. But at the end of the day, it's not about American football. I'm not tuning into a movie to see action or somebody's image, somebody's dreams of what a sporting action should look like. However, it will sound hypocritical, but that's exactly what I loved about the F1 movie. The action was so immersive, and I think it's partly because I do not watch Formula One that much. I mean, I follow Formula One because I'm a sports journalist. It's my job to follow Formula One, but I don't find it exciting. I find the storylines exciting. I find the outcomes exciting. I find everything about it exciting except for the actual sports. The 2-3 hour stretch of just watching multiple cars go around in circles is not that exciting for me. So I follow it, but I don't watch it. I don't know if that makes sense. The same thing with tennis. I follow tennis because it's my job to follow tennis. And even if it's not my job, I've been following it for long enough to now be interested in the storylines. I want to know who wins what's tour or whatever. But I want to know who wins what Grand Slam. But I also don't want to sit through 5 hours of just repetitive action, which is just the sport itself is not the action itself is not exciting to me, but the sport is exciting. I don't know if that makes sense. Anyway, I digress. Back to F1 movie though, starring Brad Pitt, one of my least favorite actors of all time. You are very overrated, Sir Pitt. But it's also a coincidence that Brad Pitt is now in two of my favorite sports movies of all time, Moneyball, which also buttresses my point about sports movies not being about the actual sports. I don't care about baseball, to be honest, but I really love Moneyball because even though it was a baseball story, it was not about the baseball action. Yeah, so Brad Pitt and Damson Idris in the F1 movie. Extremely, extremely fun movie to watch. If you have not seen it, you should probably try to. So, which also led me down a rabbit hole of what are the greatest sports movies of all time? And since this is a sports show, we can talk about it. By we, I mean me, who is not in any way qualified to talk about this. Let me specify that I'm neither a movie buff. I watch movies, but I'm not crazy about them. Nor am I a movie critic or an expert, so I'm not qualified to talk about this. Which is why I'm going to be reading a Rolling Stone article written by somebody far more qualified. And the article is 5 years old, so I suppose it has stood the test of time. So these are the 30 greatest sports movies of all time according to Rolling Stone. I'm not going to analyze or whatever. I'm just going off the list from 30 down. And it's a fun game that we can play is trying to guess which movie I've watched and which one I haven't. I don't watch a lot of movies. At number 30 is No, a documentary about baseball. I've not seen that one. At 29 is The Cup, starring Kevin Costner, and it's about the Tin Cup. This is very confusing. But yeah, The Cup, I've not seen that one as well. Number 28 is The Miracle. The Miracle, in the midst of draping our sports heroes in glory, we cannot forget that they are not always dynamic, outstanding individuals. Consequently, one of the finest attributes of Gavin O'Connor's tribute to gruff coach Brooks is that he never stops reminding us that the man who led the underdog US hockey team to an unlikely gold medal was no touchy-feely at tugging do. So that's a hockey story. I've also not seen that one. Chariots of Fire at number 27. At number 26 is Rudy. At 25, Rolling Stones. This is Rolling Stones list. Not to concern with this. Blue Chips. At 24 is Any Given Sunday. Finally, a movie I've seen. A pretty good movie. One of the classics, actually. At 23 is Bendy Like Beckham. Another movie I've seen. I do not think it's one of the 30 greatest sports movies of all time. I'm sorry. But Rolling Stones seem to do, and they know more than me on this matter. So that's obviously that's a football sports movie. At 22 is the Bingo Long Traveling All Stars and Mortal Kings from 1976. I've not seen it. Everybody that knows me knows I'm not a fan of old movies. So 1976 counts me out. But it's listed at 22, so I suppose it's pretty good. At 21, it's Victory. I've not seen that one either. At number 20, it's The Big Lebowski. Yeah, pretty good movie. I have vague recollections of it. It's been a long time. I only saw it once. At number 19, it's The Natural. At 18, Rolling Stones as The Wrestler, which I really, really love. Of course, it's a movie about the wrestler, and it gives insight into the business of wrestling. And for those of you that think wrestling is not real, you should probably go check that out. At 17 is North Dallas 40 from 1979. I also not seen that one. At 16, The Endless Summer from 1966. Definitely haven't seen that one. 15, Fat City. You would imagine that I would have seen that one, but no, I have not, because it's from 1972. At 14 is Mother Ball from 2005. I've not seen that one either. At 13 is The Uzias from 1986. At 12 is The Pride of the Yankees from 1942. At 11, White Men Can't Jump, a classic, and certainly my favorite movie on this list so far, 1992. I really love White Men Can't Jump. And another of those classic movies that are falling victim to the syndrome of the remakes. Even though I actually did like the remakes, I like Jack Harlow's character in that one. And Andrew Schultz, one of my favorite comedians, was in the remake as well. At number 10, Friday Night Lights. At number 9, we have Senna, another F1 movie. So Senna on the life of and career and times of the late great Brazilian Formula One legend Ayrton Senna. So yeah, at number, I'm losing track, number 8, When We Were Kings. I haven't seen that one, but it sounds like a great movie about the rumble in the jungle. So that seems like a fun time. At number 7, Slap Shots from 1977. Bull Durham is number 6. Number 5 is Caddyshack. I haven't seen Caddyshack. Number 4 is Raging Bull. I've seen Raging Bull once, but I again, only one time, and I have vague recollection of it. It's a pretty old movie, but I do remember feeling like it was very good coming out of it. And number 3 is the Bad News Bears from 1976. I haven't seen that one. Number 2, Rocky, classic. Who has not seen Rocky? I've seen all the Rockies and all the Rocky Children, which is the Creed series as well. I'm going to say how I feel about Rocky. I personally feel Rocky is a little bit overrated. Doesn't mean it's not good. It's just I don't think that Rocky is the second greatest sports movie of all time. And number 1 is Hoop Dreams, of course, a basketball story. So here, those are, according to Rolling Stones, the 30 greatest sports movies of all time. I have not seen at least 25 of them, but let us know in the comments if you agree with their list and what you think I should see. Give me recommendations. That's the whole point of this show. Let's build a community and talk, converse, and help me grow as a person. I know I'm flawed, especially when it comes to cinema, because my friends hate me for that reason specifically, that I am one of the worst when it comes to movies. But I'm still going to force my movie opinion on you. Anyway, let's go to what you came here for, which is my sporting opinions. I'm definitely much better at those. And a lot happened in the last week. Earlier in the week, we saw the UCL draws for the 2025-26 Champions League phase, and served up several blockbusters. Real Madrid going to Anfield, which means Trent Alexander-Arnold makes a return to Liverpool, to Anfield. Very hostile crowd, I imagine, waiting for him. Chelsea fans have been begging God for that Barcelona airline, and God has answered your prayers. God in this case is Alexander Stephanie, UEFA president. And Chelsea will be taking on Barcelona at Stamford Bridge, no less. Chelsea will also be taking on Bayern away in the Champions League. So lots of incredible fixtures in this year's Champions League draw. PSG Tottenham, a rematch of the UEFA Super Cup. That was a fantastic game to watch. I'm sure I'm missing Real Madrid Bayern. I'm sure I'm missing a number of fixtures as well. But do let me know what fixture you're looking forward to. The one I'm looking forward to the most, and it's happening right after the international break too. So I think everybody will be able to watch the Aram in HD. Arsenal was Atletico Madrid. Going by the evidence of what we've seen Arsenal do in the first 3 Premier League games of the season, and from what we know Atletico Madrid to do every single year under Diego Simeone, I think this has the potential to be one of the worst football matches of all time, which would also simultaneously make it one of the greatest football matches of all time. So I am going to be there, and I hope you are as well. Anyway, I'm sure you've heard all about the Champions League draws by now, so you don't need to go over the fixtures anymore. I'm just recapping what happened earlier in the week. And earlier in the week, they are not in the Champions League. They are not in the Europa League. They are not even in the Conference League. But we did not forget them. Why? Because they hit new depths of mediocrity. Manchester United were beaten by League 2 Grimsby. If you are not familiar with how the English football system works, there's the Premier League, the one that we all watch and love. There's the Championship, the one that most of us watch and don't love because we watch it for betting purposes. And there's the English League 1, that's the 3rd tier of English football. Then under that 3rd tier that nobody is really watching, at least I speak for this side of the world, I'm sure people in England do. Then there's the League 2. Grimsby Town are not first in that league. They're not second. They're not third. They were fourth at the time they faced Manchester United. They've gone on to lose after beating Man United, so they have even dropped further down from fourth. That is the team that took a 2-0 lead against Manchester United in the first round of the Carabao Cup. And then even though United came back to equalize, they ended up losing on penalties 12-11. Congratulations to Grimsby Town. The superior team advances to the next round. And they've gone on to make fun of Ruben Amorim and Manchester United in the subsequent video. Granted, they lost their next match. Who cares? Grimsby Town for life. So United, of course, bounced back with a win against Burnley, which we will talk about as the show progresses. But we had to just remind them of their misery. What else happened during the week? Earlier in the week, Morocco emerged champions of Africa CHAN 2025, beating Madagascar 3-2 in the final in Tanzania. So congratulations to Morocco, who are on a generational run right now, I must say. In fact, it feels like the only thing Morocco will not win is the WAFCON that the Super Falcons beat them. And even that, they almost won. They took a 2-goal lead. So Morocco has to share past questions or something, or start doing tutorials on how to develop African football. If we can have at least 4 or 5 Moroccos, African football becomes closer to producing a World Cup winner. Morocco already gave us a World Cup semi-final, first ever of its kind on this continent at the 2022 World Cup in Qatar. And this team are looking like their AFCON favourites. That's the actual AFCON. No disrespect to Chan. The actual AFCON also being hosted by Morocco. They have a great under-17 team, great under-20 team, both male and female. This team is just, I don't know how they did it. Actually, I do know. They are doing opposite of everything Nigeria is doing. So maybe that's where the answer is for us. Do exactly what Morocco is doing and let us see if we get the same results, if we can commit to a serious plan across board to improve our football, which is what Morocco have done, and it's starting to pay dividends. It was not a overnight job. It was a case of intentional development over the span of years. So congratulations again to Morocco, and sad for Madagascar, who would have easily been, if we get to the final is already the biggest achievement of their footballing endeavor as a nation. And I read somewhere that a politician in the country flew one family member from each of the team, from each member of the team, to come and support them in the final, which is a lovely gesture. Would have been nice if they won. They still put up a good fight. 3-2. So a very, very entertaining final. What else happened during the week? Noah Lyles won his 6th Diamond League title in Zurich, beating Letilo Tebogo and the rest of the field. So Noah Lyles stamping his authority as the fastest man in the world as he continues to gain as many haters as he gains fans. And Eurobasket is ongoing right now in 4 countries: Cyprus, Finland, Poland, and Latvia. That's the Nations Cup for European basketball. So some of the biggest names in the NBA are participating right now, representing their country. Giannis Antetokounmpo of Greece national team. We see Lauri Markkanen, Finland, Luka Doncic, Slovenia, and so on and so forth. So lots of action already taking place. The defending champion Spain lost in the opening game of the tournament to Georgia. So there's already lots of upsets, lots of things to look forward to. As is the US Open, which is also going on as well. But I can't go fully into updates right now because a lot of things are changing as I'm recording this on a Sunday night. Speaking of, let's go to our highlights of the weekend. The greatest thing that happened this weekend for me, from a sporting perspective, was Joao Neves scoring arguably the greatest hat-trick of all time. Arguably the greatest hat-trick of all time. I don't think I've ever, in my 72 years of watching the beautiful game called football, I don't think I've ever seen a player score not 1, but 2 overhead kicks in one match within 7 minutes of each other. 2 different styles of overhead kicks, by the way. It is not those simple ones that Joao Neves is a small man, so it is a very, very impressive achievement regardless, as PSG beat Toulouse by 6-3 in the French Ligue 1. And then to top it off, to complete his hat-trick, he scored a long-range shot. I think that's probably the greatest hat-trick of all time. If you disagree, let me know what other shouts. I'm sure Messi has a ridiculous goal catalogue. So Messi is probably the only one I can think of that probably have a hat-trick catalogue that might battle what we saw from Joao Neves over the weekend. But let me know in the comments. Let us know on our socials. Please, again, subscribe to the channel. Listen on Spotify. Like, rate the show. Comment, share. Do everything you have to do to support the channel, T&T Talk Sports, as we bring you elite sporting content. So, yeah, that was my highlight of the weekend. Before we dive into the actual stories for discussion, let's take a gander across European football and see what results caught our fans. I already mentioned PSG defeating Toulouse by 6-3. You don't even see that scoreline often. 6-3 is such a FC 25 scoreline. That's 6-3 hardly happens in real life. It happens a lot in FC because it's a terrible game. On Saturday as well in Ligue 1, Nantes 1-0 winners against Auxerre, and Lille 7-1 away from home against Lorient. Those were the score lines from Saturday in the French Ligue 1. In the Premier League on Saturday, Chelsea 2-0 winners against Fulham. We'll get to the juicier details of that one as the show progresses. Manchester United 3-2 winners at home to Burnley. Did not come without its drama. If you see celebration, you would think United just won the Champions League. Well, 97th minute penalty winner against Burnley. Where they are, if you come from losing to Grimsby, you better celebrate a win against Burnley however you get it. Sunderland returned to winning ways after that blip in match week 2, losing to Burnley as well. But now 2-1 against Brentford. So they have 2 wins from 3 games. Sunderland looking like they are going to put up a fight in the Premier League. Speaking of putting up a fight, Bournemouth lost their entire defense to bigger clubs and their goalkeeper, and they are still fighting hard and picking up good results. 2 wins from 3 games so far. Latest one is a 1-0 win away at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Very, very detrimental to my finances. 1-0 win for Bournemouth away at Tottenham. They spoiled everything. Win or draw, score 1 goal, over 1.5. I assure you, there's nothing you could have bet on in this game now. I don't care who you are. Everton 3-2 winners away at Wolverhampton Wanderers, extending their winning run to 5 games, unbeaten run, I beg your pardon, to 5 games so far. David Moyes has been doing a fantastic job. Jack Grealish grabbed the headlines in that game with 2 assists, making 4 assists this season so far since joining Everton, looking like a rejuvenated player and sparking conversations online. Was Pep Guardiola holding him back, or has Jack Grealish found his level? I think it's a combination of both. Because for Jack Grealish's style of play, he's clearly a maverick. And I don't think that Pep Guardiola specifically tells wingers, hey, stop dribbling. Because Jeremy Doku still dribbles. Riyad Mahrez dribbled when he played under Pep Guardiola. I don't think Pep Guardiola stops anybody from dribbling. It's a case of dribble within the system. And when you constantly face low blocks, it is, for a winger like Grealish, I would say that's where his own personal, that's what I would knock him for, is the fact that he's probably playing for a smaller team like Aston Villa, where he was signed from, and then now Everton. You are not facing, you have more freedom of expression. You are not facing as many low blocks as you would face playing for Manchester City, which means you have to take on your man every single time you have the ball. Either take on your man or pass the ball within the system. So that, I think it's a combination of both. I don't think anybody is necessarily to blame. I just think that sometimes players just need to step out and find, what works for them. And congratulations to Jack Grealish. The last game on Saturday was Leeds 0, Newcastle 0. In the German Bundesliga on Saturday, Eintracht Frankfurt 3-1 winners away at Hoffenheim. RB Leipzig 2-0 winners at home to Heidenheim. Stuttgart 1-0 winners at home to Mönchengladbach. Werder Bremen 3-3 against Bayer Leverkusen. And we are hearing that Erik ten Hag might already be getting the sack 3 games into the season. And I respect it. Bayer Leverkusen saying, you know what, it's never too early to admit that you made a mistake. That's exactly what's happening over there in Leverkusen, or Neverkusen, should I say. Augsburg nearly ruined the party for Bayern Munich bettors, but Bayern emerged winners 3-2. And in the Serie A, we saw Bologna 1-0 winners at home to Como. Parma 1, Atalanta 1, as Atalanta remains sans Lookman. Napoli, last-minute winners, Frank Zambo and Gisa, this Cameroonian midfielder, with the winner in the 95th minute against Cagliari, 1-0. And Roma also winning away 1-0 at newly promoted Pisa. In La Liga on Saturday, Atletico Madrid 1-1 draw against Alaves, now still winless 3 games into the season, sparking controversy and discussion online about the future of El Cholo Diego Simeone. Has Simeone driven this bus as far as it can go? Has Simeone done all he can for Atletico Madrid? Is it time for Atleti to move on from Diego Simeone? That's the question that has been asked online. And the response is, what do you want Atletico Madrid to achieve that they've not? If in 13 years or 14 years, however long it's been there, Diego Simeone has finished higher than every other Atletico manager ever. He has never finished a season under 70 points. And before they appointed him, 67 points was their highest ever. So he has taken the club to an incredible level of stability. Got into 2 Champions League finals, won 2 La Liga titles, despite not being the favourite. People keep pointing to the fact that he's been spending just as much as Real Madrid and Barcelona, so he should be able to challenge them more often. But it takes more than just a decade and change of spending to challenge Barcelona. Barcelona and Real Madrid are institutionally the biggest clubs in Spain. So you can criticize Simeone for what I criticize Simeone for is because I don't believe anybody's above criticism, and he is not above criticism. What I criticize him for is the fact that I always felt like he could get more out of his players. Don't get me wrong, his style works. Also against the one type of football, digging, don't be too adventurous, get what you can get and win the game. Results over flamboyance or entertainment. That's cool. But then there's a particular game where Simeone lined up his team so defensively, but there were actually only 2 defenders on the pitch. And it's a microcosm of my actual criticism of him, is that it doesn't matter the personnel, he will still play exactly how he deems fit, which in my opinion, you should be a little bit more flexible. He has players that can actually play entertaining football. So that's my own criticism of him. I would say the criticism that I've been seeing online so far, it's too early into the season. It's 3 games. Are you saying he should be sacked for not winning the first 3 games? Not that is good, but I don't know what people expect. Real Madrid and Barcelona are clearly ahead of Atletico Madrid. Where you should start calling Simeone's job into question if he becomes anything lower than the obvious number 3, because Atletico Madrid are clearly better than everybody else but Real Madrid and Barcelona. So it's not a big 3, it's a big 2 and Atletico Madrid. Yeah, to the rest of the 17 teams in the league, it's a big 3 because those 3 teams are clearly financially superior and in terms of personnel superior to them. But from the outside looking in, from someone that's not necessarily a La Liga fan, there's a clear separation. It's a big 2. Real Madrid, Barcelona, Real Madrid, whatever order you want to put it. I'm not a fan of either club. And then right under them is Atletico Madrid. And then right under them is the rest of the league. How many clubs have tried to step to Real Madrid and Barcelona and break that dichotomy and break that duopoly? It's Valencia, Sevilla, Villarreal, I think even Real Betis at some point. The point is that nobody can sustainably do it. There's a reason there has not been a sustained number 3 in La Liga for so long. Because at some point you would tear your ACL as a club. You need to give Simeone credit for being able to stabilize Atletico Madrid this long and stop, criticizing the man at every turn. That being said, Simeone, you can get more out of your players. Back to the scorelines. Real Oviedo 1-0 winners at home to Real Sociedad, and their first win of the season. And they look pretty good in that game too. Sevilla 2-0 winners away at Girona. Girona might actually get relegated this season, which is crazy because they played in the Champions League last year. They are shocking, horrendous actually. Real Madrid 2-1 winners at home to Mallorca on Saturday. The Sunday games produced some interesting results as well, especially in the Premier League. I don't know if anybody would have predicted Nottingham Forest losing 3-0 at home to West Ham, who prior to this game looked terrible, and to go to the City ground to score 3 goals in the final 6 minutes of the game and then win it. Jared Bowen, Lucas Paqueta and Callum Wilson with the goals. But that was not the only shocking results on Sunday. At this point, is it even a shock that Manchester City are bad? Manchester City 2-1 loss to Brighton, consecutive defeats after losing to Tottenham last weekend as well. Going into the international break with 1 win from 3 games, 3 points from 9 games, from 9 points possible. If you have less points than Manchester United in the Premier League, you should be ashamed of yourself. And we discussed it last week, so I'm not going to bring it back up. But is Pep Guardiola finished? Let us know what you think in the comments. I do not know how else to put this? He's gotten the players he wanted. He's basically done a makeover of this squad. They are clearing shop as we speak. Akonji, Ake, all on the chopping block. They signed Victor Reich for 35 million. We've not even heard of him since last year. There's a lot going on. And the rumors are appearing to be true. Pep Guardiola might be done out here. Who knows? Liverpool 1-0 winners against Arsenal. A dour game. In fact, a contender for one of the worst Premier League games we've seen in a long time. And if you were to make a list of the worst big Premier League games, I'm sure 7 of those 10 games would involve Arsenal. And a lot of them will be Arsenal City. In fact, all the Arsenal Cities that have happened over the last 5 years, throw them in the basket of trash. But this particular game, terrible. On both sides, Arsenal didn't create much. It was a safety first approach, which is sort of understandable. If you go to Anfield without your best player in Bukayo Saka, your captain in Martin Odegaard, and probably your best centre back, or at least your second best centre back in William Saliba, who got injured right at the start of the game. He actually got injured in the warm up, but wanted to carry on and then pulled up just a few minutes into the game. It took a moment of magic though, and that's exactly that's what transpired to settle this game. Dominic Szoboszlai with a fantastic free kick to give Liverpool the 3 points that they deserve. And Liverpool and Chelsea and Crystal Palace are the only 3 unbeaten teams in the Premier League so far, heading into the international break. So talk to me nice. I support a team of invincibles. Just 3 games, but I'm shameless. I'll take it. Aston Villa lost 3-0 at home to Crystal Palace, which is, I have no words. Neither did Unai Emery, because everything he was asked in the press conference, he just kept responding with his goalkeeper's name. Not Emiliano Martinez, who is being said to make a move to Manchester United on transfer deadline day. Angers versus Rennes in the French League 1-1. Le Havre 3-1 winners at home to OGC Nice. Monaco 3-2 winners against Strasbourg. Paris FC 3-2 winners against Metz. And Lyon Marseille. It's a derby of some sort. I think it's the Olympic derby. Lyon Marseille. Lyon won by a goal to 0. In the German Bundesliga on Sunday, we saw Dortmund 3-0 winners at home to Union Berlin. Wolfsburg and FCFB Mainz ended 1-1. FC Köln 4-1 winners against Freiburg. Speaking of FC Köln, shout out to Anthony Uja, who is a legend of FC Köln, the Billy Goats, and he retired from football over the course of the week. So happy retirement to you, legend, Nigerian football legend. He didn't get too many run-outs with the Super Eagles, if any at all, but he made a name for himself in German football, and he has earned his boots. So congratulations to Anthony Uja. In the Serie A, on Sunday, I beg your pardon, Juventus 1-0 winners away at Genoa. Torino Fiorentina ended goalless. Inter lost at home to Udinese 1-2. Surprising result right there at the San Siro, or the Giuseppe Meazza, as they choose to call it. Lazio 4-0 winners against Verona. In La Liga on Sunday, Celta Vigo 1, Villarreal 1. Betis lost at home to Athletic Club Bilbao 2-1. Espanyol 1-0 winners against Osasuna, which is impressive considering that the other team from Barcelona could not pick up all 3 points. 1-1 Barcelona drew away at Rayo Vallecano in Vallecas. A game which made the headlines for not having VAR in this 21st century. Apparently, the technology went out mid-game and the referee called both captains, Isi Palazon of Rayo Vallecano and Frankie de Jong of FC Barcelona, and told them, there's no VAR from this point henceforth. And of course, Vallecano took full advantage because Barcelona should have had a penalty in the second half. But because there was no VAR, the game remained 1-1, and Barcelona dropped points for the first time this season. So I think those are the results from the top 5 European leagues that caught the eye over the weekend. I've done justice to that. Now, let's talk about what I actually want to talk about, which is the Chelsea Fulham game and the VAR controversy, which in my opinion should not even be much of a controversy. Chelsea won that game 2-0, like I mentioned earlier. The first goal was also mired in controversy, but even before the goal, Fulham scored first, Joshua King, and the goal was ruled out for a foul in the build-up, which by all indications, was a foul. There's a still image of it on your screen right now. It was a foul. Rodrigo Muniz, the Fulham striker, stepped on Trevor Chalobah. Granted, he was not trying to step on Chalobah. He was trying to, skillfully spin the ball around. But by the time he stepped on Chalobah and then passed the ball to Joshua King, who turned Tosin Adarabioyo like Semo, turned him inside out before placing Robert Sanchez and made him look clueless. Good goal. Would it have been a great moment for the 18-year-old? Yes. Was the 18-year-old robbed of his great moment? No. Because it was not a legitimate goal. And from the commentators to the analysts to PGMOL, who went on to suspend the VAR for that game because of this decision, everybody had been in their emotions and their feelings. I don't know if it's because Chelsea was the team involved or because it was an 18-year-old that was denied a goal. But it was a clear foul. I don't know why this is even a controversy. Fast forward to the 54th minute of the game, because there was a lot of extra time, additional time in the first half. Chelsea scored. There was 8 minutes added on, but according to the rules, it's a minimum of 8 minutes. Fulham fans are done by because the game should have ended in the 53rd minute according to them. 8 plus 45 is 53. But Chelsea scored in the 54th minute. So Marco Silva did not have a great Saturday afternoon in that early kickoff. And then in the second half, Joao Pedro was involved again. He appeared to undo the ball first before Ryan Sessegnon also undid the ball. And his own handball was ignored and Ryan Sessegnon was given as a penalty, which Enzo Fernandez converted to make it 2-0. So I can see how Fulham feel done by it. But at the end of the day, I don't get all the talk about the worst VAR decision of all time. I do not get it at all. And I've made my thoughts on that clear, but also, again, I'd like to hear what you think. What about this? I understand why Fulham will feel, you can feel unlucky. You can feel outdone by. You can feel like it's not your day. You can feel whatever you want to feel. But you can't feel cheated if the correct call was made. I refuse to buy into that victim mentality that they're trying to peddle. I've seen lots of, even their players coming out to speak about it. Alex Iwobi and Calvin Bassey, the Nigerians, talking about it. Anthony Robinson put out a tweet about it and said, whatever I said, I can't find the tweet. But yes, so it seems to me that they've sort of let the narrative go from what was even the point of suspending the VAR? Because as a video assistant referee, if you spot something in the build-up to a goal that you think might be an issue, it is your job to call the referee to it. The VAR did not make the decision. Call the referee to it and say, yo, this looks like it might have been a foul. Go check it out and let me know what you think. The referee went to check it out and rightfully called the foul. So if you even want to suspend anybody, suspend the referee. Apparently the VAR has been suspended for, bringing back the incident when it was not a clear and obvious error, which you should keep in mind as a football fan. All of you that are laughing at Chelsea now, Liverpool fan, Man U fan, Arsenal fan, City fan, it will touch everybody. Because when something happens in a game involving your team and you now say, why did the VAR not check that? This is what happens. Because even the VARs are people, like the video assistant referees themselves, not the technology. The people that are in charge of technology. They have feelings, they have emotions, and they have memories too. You might want to call something back, and you'll be like, the last guy that called this thing, they suspended him. It was supposed to be the VAR for the Liverpool Arsenal game. But he was taken off that game because of the Chelsea Fulham incident. So the next person will probably be like, I don't want to get suspended like the last guy, so I'm just going to let it go. They've scored. And then you as a fan will be crashing out on Twitter or on IG or wherever you do your crashing out. Like, we should have gotten a call, VAR should have checked that. What's the point of having VAR? This is the point of having VAR. And I think that English football, there's a lot that goes in. It is extremely emotional. It is extremely, I don't want to use the word bias because I don't want to paint anybody in a bad way. I don't even think it's corruption. Nor do I think it's necessarily incompetence. It is incompetence, but I don't think it's strictly incompetence. It is, they just view the game through too many tainted lenses. There are 1,000 reasons why a simple decision should not be a simple decision. Why? Because an 18-year-old scored his first Premier League goal. So we should count a ball that was clearly a foul in the build-up. I don't have anything else to say on that game, except for the fact that Liam Delap triggered an unfortunate turn of events on Saturday with his injury. He pulled up no contact injury in the first half of that game before Chelsea scored with the hamstring injury, and we learned right after the game that he will be out for at least 2 months, out injured for at least 2 months. Which leaves Chelsea Football Club with just Joao Pedro as the only, senior striker on the books. In fact, Tariq George had to come off the bench to replace Liam Delap in that game. That's because Nicolas Jackson was set to join Bayern Munich. On that same Saturday, was already in Munich, arriving, touching down, meeting the fans, preparing to, get his medical done for a record loan fee. I think it's about 20 million in loan fee, and then 80 million euros, 20 million euros loan fee, and then 80 million, option to buy at the end of the loan for Bayern Munich. We'll clearly believe a lot in this Senegalese striker. But because of the lapse injury, Chelsea had, were in scramble mode and decided to pull the plug on that deal. From Jackson's perspective, I'm about to join, you freeze me out of the team. Not necessarily freeze out, but they clearly made it clear that they had no plans for Jackson after signing both Delap and Pedro. Did not play Jackson since the Club World Cup game where he picked up the red card. That was his last game for Chelsea. Won the Club World Cup without playing him. Started the season without him necessarily training with the squad. So it was basically frozen out. Eventually found a top team in Bayern Munich, a team that might not say is better than Chelsea. From his perspective, he's about to step up to a higher level after you froze him out. And now, because of an unfortunate injury that has nothing to do with him, Chelsea now want to pull him back. You can't see what I'm laughing for. My producer behind the camera is laughing because I said the injury has nothing to do with him. Just because he's African does not mean that it was not that did jazz to injure the lap. I don't think this injury had anything to do with him. But it's a great case study for how everybody acts in their own best interest in the transfer window, especially football clubs. And it is also why I always support players in transfer disputes. Look at everything that's happening in this transfer window. We're on deadline day. Isak is about to move to Liverpool. Finally, he gets his wish, 130 million. Johan Wissa is still in limbo. Ademola Lookman is still in limbo. But I'm always on the side of the player because the players are the underdogs. At this point, Chelsea pulled the plug on the loan deal. No matter how much Jackson wants to leave, he can't sign for Bayern. Bayern have already told him and his agents to go back to London. He can't sign because the club holds all the aces, the club holds all the cards, and there's really nothing a measly football player can do against the ginormous institution of a football club. So I'm always on the side of the underdog in these disputes. Clubs have the leeway to act in their own best interest. Clubs will freeze out players and say, you are not in our plans. You don't even get the dignity of training with your peers. Even if you are not in our plans. I can't train with my colleagues. You don't get it until you find a club. Go and train with the under-18s. Go and train with the under-19s. Go and train with the under-20s. And fans will cheer this behavior on. Players that fans have even, this transfer window, have even learned a new term that they call bomb squad. Every club has their own bomb squad. The players that they don't want. And they have their own dressing room. Apart from a picture of the Chelsea bomb squad leaked. Disasi, Mudryk, Leslie Ugochukwu, Amando Broja. All the players that Chelsea did not have plans for. They have their own little cubicle-looking dressing room with their names there, and people were laughing and kicking without considering the fact that these players are human beings and what's of the psychological effect that might have on them. Yeah, of course, you don't want me right now, but I'm still a human being. I'm still on the books of the club. Let me train. Let me play. Let me be in. Let me play ball normally, at least until I find a club. I don't think fans should continue to enable clubs to move in an inhumane manner. And another example of this, Trevor Chalobah. Trevor Chalobah frozen out for no reason last summer. Frozen out was in the bomb squad, eventually loaned him to Crystal Palace. And when Chelsea had a defensive crisis, they quickly called Chalobah back. Lucky for Chelsea, Chalobah is a lifelong Chelsea fan, an academy graduate. Making it at Chelsea had always been his dream. So he saw, instead of seeing it as disrespect, he saw it as a chance to prove himself again. And he has done that. He has become an undisputed starter in this Chelsea backline. I don't know if that's a good thing or bad thing, but he has become a starter. And that worked out well for both parties because Chalobah wants to be at Chelsea. In Jackson's case, Jackson owes nobody allegiance. Yes, you have the right to call him back because he's under contract, he's your player. But you are not entitled to his happiness. If you need him, you are not entitled to his best performance. Even when he was happy, he was not playing well. Imagine now that he's disgruntled. So I would say in this situation, just let the boy go. Chelsea have already called back Maguire, another striker, young striker, signed from Barcelona, was on loan at Sunderland, had barely played for Sunderland anyway. And apparently they found a way to terminate that loan deal and brought it back. So if you have brought back Maguire, I don't see any reason why you should still stand in the way of Nicolas Jackson's move. Especially since Delap is going to be out for 2 months, maybe 3 months max. By the end of the year, Delap is back. So what happens to Jackson by then? This is also an indication of the terrible squad planning that I keep talking about as a Chelsea fan. Because everybody with eyes knew. First of all, Joao Pedro has never been an out-and-out centre forward in his life. He did very well in that position in Club World Cup, yes. He has started the season like a house on fire, yes. But he has never done this before. So it is by that we know that we cannot entirely rely on him. A player that his best career tally is 11 goals. He's clearly going to outdo that this season, now that he's playing with better players and playing at the higher level. But still, him and Delap left Chelsea light at the top of the formation. Everybody with eyes could see that. Actually, now that Chelsea were no longer had the luxury of, basically rotating the entire squad in the Conference League like they did last season. And now that you play Champions League and every game matters, like you are not going to be playing games where you can just select 2 separate 11s. No. So you actually need quality. So even without the lapse injury, I had always been opposed to letting Jackson go just because you have, it's not even that you signed Osimhen or Isak or a world class. Joao Pedro and Delap together, and you felt the need to just let Jackson go like that. So it was poor squad planning from the start, from the very beginning, in my opinion. I didn't see Jackson had a good camaraderie with the rest of the team. With Chelsea's best player, Obama, with the rest of the team. He has gone to war with the club legend, John Obi Mikel, killing ourselves for Africa. So I did not see the need of breaking that relationship. And now that the relationship is broken, you now want to force him back, disgruntled Jackson, back into the Chelsea team after you denied him his big move to Bayern Munich. I don't see how that works out well for anybody. I don't see the point of keeping a disgruntled Jackson. So I'll say just let him go. You've called Maguire back. Just pray to God that nothing happens to Joao Pedro as the season progresses. And let Guyu be his backup until Delap comes back, probably by December or even earlier than that. So that's my summation of the Jackson-Chelsea incident. Let me know who you think was right or wrong. I think that Chelsea are definitely wrong on this. I think Chelsea are wrong. And I hope that Nicolas Jackson, I wish him all the best. I hope that they do the right thing on transfer deadline day, September 1st, Monday. So, of course, obviously, I'm recording this before the deadline. So I don't know if Jackson eventually will get his move to Bayern Munich, but I hope it does. Even though the last word we've heard on that is that they've told him and his agents, come back to London. You are our player. And there's nothing he can really do about that. So, from Nicolas Jackson's transfer saga, I might as well enter into transfer gist proper and tell you the latest updates. Alexander Isak to Liverpool. Here we go. Finally, the biggest transfer saga of the summer has gotten a resolution. 130 million Great British pounds British transfer record smashed. I think the record before Jack Grealish, 100 million. Newcastle and Liverpool finally reached an agreement after Newcastle signed Nick Voltemade from Stuttgart for about 80 million. So I think that made them more free to let Isak go. Okay, we already have a striker. You can go to the club you want to go. So here we go. On Sunday night, deal agreed. Record move for the Premier League. Isak is on his way on deadline day for medical test as new Liverpool player. After long-term deal agreed months ago, it was only Liverpool for Isak, according to Fabrizio De Don Romano. Emiliano Martinez has told Aston Villa that he wants to join Manchester United. Another of the deadline day drama building up. So Manchester United have two goalkeepers that are not even equal to one, and Andrew Onana and Altay Bayern there. So Emiliano Martinez, even though it seems like a much better goalkeeper, like on the eye test, the stats say that he actually committed more errors leading to goal than Onana last season. So be careful what you wish for Manchester United fans. What happens to Sene Lamens? We hear that Aston Villa are now trying to sign Lamens to replace Martinez, who they want to give to Man United, who Man United were trying to sign Lamens in the first place. It's a very confusing inception type of situation. But congratulations to everybody involved. They are also talking with Jadon Sancho. And it would be nice to see Sancho have a nice landing spot. Aston Villa playing European football at a decent level as well. If talks remain with Juventus right now, Randall Colomwani can emerge as a top option for several top clubs on deadline day. Juventus and PSG have still not been able to reach evaluation, even though Colomwani has stated clearly that he wants to retain his spot in Juventus. He was on loan there from PSG last season. Negotiations between Aston Villa and Man U continue on deadline day for Jadon Sancho. It's going to be a very, very interesting deadline day. Of course, the episode drops before we know what moves were made. We'll talk about it next week. But I'm sure you have your Fabrizios and the likes for all the updates that you need. Sancho has to decide his future today, or eventually will move to a non-European club, because Manchester United have made it clear that there's no place for you here. Conrad Ada scheduled to fly to Germany in losing my vision here. Conrad Ada scheduled to fly today to Germany in order to complete his move to RB Leipzig. So Conrad Ada is going to be an RB Leipzig striker, replacing Benjamin Šeško, who went to Manchester United 003. I can't not forget. Matt O'Reilly is set to join Olympic Marseille from Brighton and Hove Albion. We understand Strasbourg have signed all paperwork for Julio Enciso deal. So congratulations to Julio Enciso, who moves to Strasbourg, basically joining the Blue Co family, because from Strasbourg he will then move to Chelsea eventually. So Alexander Isak, here we go. We touched that already. Dodi Lukebakio, one of my favorite players. Dodi Lukebakio, the Belgian winger, is leaving Sevilla to join Benfica. Definitely an upward move, but it's also an upward sideways. I expected him to move to a more visible league, but at the end of the day, Lukebakio is a quality player, and eventually, I believe that he will get his big break. Chrysanthus Uche, the Nigerian striker, defensive midfielder, who knows? He should play. Is in London to sign his deal with Crystal Palace as verbally agreed. He turned down the chance to join Wolverhampton Wanderers. Wolverhampton Wanderers went down to sign another Nigerian, Ntolu Arokodare. So congratulations to both Nigerians who are now in the Premier League, if everything goes on. In fact, because these days it's unsafe to wish anybody congratulations for transfer until you see them wear jersey, the way deals are falling through in the last minute. But yeah, I wish them all the best. Sunderland are working on a deal to sign Brian Burberry, the Netherlands international from Ajax, as their striker, especially since Maguire has gone back to Chelsea now. Liverpool, after signing Isak, Liverpool are pushing to sign McGay on deadline day as well. How much has Liverpool spent so far this window? Speaking of Liverpool, AC Milan are confident that they will agree terms with Liverpool for Joe Gomez, the defender. So we'll continue to monitor that and see how that goes. Joe Gomez came off the bench for Liverpool against Arsenal. So yeah, I think those are the transfer updates for now. Atletico Madrid have booked a flight for Nico Gonzalez from Juventus, so from Turin to Madrid. Nico Gonzalez will most likely be an Atletico Madrid player at the end of the transfer window. Yeah, Chelsea reached an agreement to bring back Maguire from Sunderland. I assume they had to pay for breaking the agreement so soon. Lorenzo Insigne, remember him? Italian international in Toronto FC all these years, might be returning to Italy, returning to European football. With Parma is returning to Serie A as his top priority. Adrien Rabiot returns to Serie A as well, from Marseille to AC Milan. AC Milan with Max Allegri are bringing the band back together. Brazilian striker Kevin is moving for 42 million euros from Shakhtar Donetsk to Fulham in the Premier League. And speaking of Fulham, they are also trying to sign Nigerian Samuel Chukwueze. So it's looking like the Nigerian count in the Premier League is going to increase and keep on increasing. Marco Asensio is going to be a Fenerbahce player. Here we go. So congratulations to Marco Asensio, who was in Premier League last season with Aston Villa, but is leaving PSG to join Fenerbahce. Fenerbahce are also trying to hijack the deal for Ederson, the goalkeeper from Manchester City, who has been set to join Galatasaray all summer. They are set to, looking like Fenerbahce want to steal in and get away with that move as well. Edon Jagrova from Lille to Juventus, looking very, very likely. In fact, completed according to Fabrizio Romano, although not officially announced at the moment. Those are the transfer updates that I have for you as the season progresses. Let me catch my breath and drink some water. I don't try. So I mentioned a couple Nigerians in my transfer updates, and I don't know if both of them are in the squad, but finally we have a full squad for the international break. Do or die, make or break. I don't even have any other way to put it, but we have to beat South Africa and Rwanda if we want to have a chance to go anywhere. But not only do we have to win those two games, after winning those two games, we now have to hope that South Africa are deducted points for fielding an ineligible player as well. So these odds are stacked up against the Super Eagles of Nigeria, but I'm sure that we'll be able to figure it out. I don't know. Me personally, I've detached from this team in terms of our World Cup hopes and focusing more on the AFCON. But still, we have to go through the list of the Super Eagles players. The 23-man squad list includes Stanley Wabali, who picked up an injury but apparently is fit enough to be in this squad. Amaso Basoge and Adebayo Adeleye, those are the three goalkeepers. In defense is William Tristekon, Calvin Bassi, Benjamin Frederick, who makes the full list, Felix Agu, Bright Osai, Samuel Chidozie Awazim, Bruno Yemachi, and Ola Aino. In midfield is Frank Gitanko Yeka, Alex Iwobi, Rafael Onyedika, Fisayo Dele Bashiru, Wilfred Ndidi, Chrysanthus Uche, the new Crystal Palace man, Ademola Lookman, whose future is still uncertain on deadline day. We hear that Bayern Munich went with a loan approach that has now been rejected by Atalanta. Victor Osimhen, Tolu Alashe Aroko Dari of Wolverhampton Wanderers, new Wolves player. Cyril Dessers also, we are hearing, will be on the move to Panathinaikos from Rangers on deadline day. Moses Simon, who already made a move to Paris FC, and Samuel Chukwueze, who could also be on the move to Fulham from AC Milan. In case you are not following, the Super Eagles of Nigeria are in Group C of the CAF version of the World Cup qualifiers. And right now we are fourth in that group with 7 points from 6 games. 6 points adrift of South Africa, top of the group with 13 points. Bear in mind, only one team from each group qualifies automatically for the 2026 FIFA World Cup. And right now, it's looking like that team is going to be South Africa. Nigeria have a chance to take points off South Africa in what is going to be the most important game. The problem is that game is away from home in South Africa. So can we beat South Africa in South Africa? I don't know, but we'll find out shortly, while also playing against Rwanda. So best case scenario for Nigeria right now, you win both games, you have 6 points, you also go up to 13 points along with South Africa, with 2 games left to play. Basically, you have to win your remaining 4 games. But let's focus on the 2 games in this international window. You win those 2 games, and then you hope that at the end of it all, even if South Africa go on to win their games as well, and you both finished tied on points. The Bafana are docked 3 points because they fielded an ineligible player against Lesotho. That's the hope from a Nigerian perspective right now to make the World Cup. But the question is, can Super Eagles win 4 straight games? Can the team with just 1 win from the first 6 games now end the World Cup qualifying campaign with 4 wins out of 4? We have the talent, we have the personnel. Do we have the will? Do we have the drive? Do we have the desire? And do we have the luck? Because at some point, you also have to factor in good old-fashioned luck. I don't have anything to wish the Super Eagles, but good luck. Let's see if that changes. As a journalist, it's very much in my favor. The Super Eagles of Nigeria can qualify for the World Cup in the United States, Canada, and Mexico next year. So, make or break World Cup qualifiers for the Super Eagles. We'll continue to support them and wish them all the best. But still sticking with Nigerian football, the NPFL, the Nigeria Professional Football League, entered into match week 2 after kickoff last week, and there were some quite interesting results. Ikorodu City still remain without a win or even without a goal. 0-0 at home to El Kanemi. Kano Pillars 1-1 draw against Wiki Tourists. Plateau United, the only team in the league right now without a single point from the first 2 games. Lost at home 2-1 to Katsina United. Warri Wolves, 2-0 winners at home to Rangers International. Rivers United 1-0 winners at home to Kwara United. Bayelsa United consolidated on their win away at Shooting Stars last time out to win against Barao United. Barao FC, I beg your pardon. Eyimba 1-0 winners at home to Niger Tornadoes. Nasarawa United 1-0 winners at home to Abia Warriors. Bendel Insurance and Shooting Stars played out a 1-1 draw. It's an interesting reading for the table. Only 2 teams won their first 2 games, Bayelsa United and Warri Wolves. 6 teams in general avoided defeat in the first 2 games. That's a win and a draw. Bayelsa United and Warri Wolves, as I mentioned, along with El Kanemi Warriors, Wiki Tourists, Rivers United, and Enyimba. And Plateau United are the only team yet to pick up a single point. And speaking of a single point, about 6 teams or 7 teams have a single point. Remo Stars, Kun Khalifat, Kano Pillars, Shooting Stars, Kwara United, Bendel Insurance, Rangers International, and Barao FC. So that's the updates on the NPFL from my table. Let's talk about how the Nigerian football stars performed over the weekend. Starts, of course, courtesy of Eagles Tracker. No plagiarism over here. Wonderful job they do over there, and I'm a big fan of what they do. So use them to collect Nigerian players' performances. Even journalist arc. Saying if you want to know how a Nigerian player performs, just basically are curious about the Nigerian player, you've not heard of him in a long time. Just go on Eagles Tracker's page and search it. So shout out to Ayoti and the rest of those guys. They do a wonderful job. Congratulations to Super Falcons midfielder Deborah Abiodun on making an NWSL debut for Washington Spirits. The future is bright. Paul Onuachu scored the 2nd goal of the season for Trabzonspor as they held on to an home league draw against Samsunspor. 1-1. It ended in that one. Paul Onuachu on the score sheet. Speaking of score sheet, Bozzy Simon scored the winning goal, and he also had an assist for Paris FC in their first win of the French Ligue 1 season. 3-2, Paris FC beats FC Metz. Bozzy Simon, a new signing for the Parisians. Well, I not featured for Nottingham Forest, but it was a disappointing afternoon. 3-0 losers at home to struggling West Ham. I forgot to mention earlier, Emmanuel Dennis, at 27 years old, has had his contract mutually terminated by Nottingham Forest. So I suppose it's a free agent at the moment. We'll see where he lands, maybe on transfer deadline day or even beyond. Victor Osimhen, back-to-back goals in back-to-back games for Galatasaray. A header to help Galatasaray win against Ibrahim Olawoyin's Rizespor. 3-1 intended in favour of the Turkish champions. Emmanuel Ume continues his impressive start to the season, assisting the opener for FC Zurich in their away Swiss Super League victory over Winterthur 3-1. Chidozie Awadem put in a good performance and helped FC Nantes pick up their first Ligue 1 victory of the season. 1-0 it ended against Auxerre. He had 8 clearances in that game in which he played all 90 minutes. Rashid Akanbi got the assist for Bolu Sports opener in their away league victory over Sakaryaspor. That sounds like it's in the Turkish lower division. 4-1 winners. Felix Agu put in a good effort to help 10-man Werder Bremen come from 2 goals behind to earn a draw against Netentela and Bayer Leverkusen. 3-3. That ended in the battle of the Nigerians. Hafiz Ibrahim featured for Stade Reims as they earned a narrow home French League 2 victory over Le Mans. 1-0 it ended. Alex Iwobi and Kevin Bassey, I mentioned earlier, both played for Fulham, but could not help them avoid defeat against the mighty Chelsea up the Chelsea. Paulina Ali put in a good defensive shift, but couldn't prevent Levante UD from falling to a defeat in their season opener against Granada. Rafael Onyedika impressed the midfield as he assisted a goal for Club Brugge as they qualified in the UCL League phase with a massive victory over Rangers. So those are your updates from the Nigerian players, male and female, the Eagles and Falcons tracker. That, ladies and gentlemen, should conclude episode 3 of the T&T Talk Sports show. But your feedback is absolutely utmost important for me. I want to know what you think. I want to know how you felt listening and watching the show. I want to know your thoughts on my thoughts on what has happened over the last week of European and African football and sports in general. I also know if you feel like I'm not focusing enough on other sports, let me know what you think, because we tend to gravitate towards the people want. So thank you very much for working with us again, episode 3 on this growing channel. Please, we appreciate every single one of you that have watched the content so far and have subscribed and enjoyed with us through, the teasing stage. All I will say is right now, whatever you're doing, keep at it. Don't let anybody kill your dream. Whatever, just stay with it. Stick with it. Don't be easy to kill. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for rocking with us. T&T Talk Sports. We'll be back next week. And guess what? And the week after that. And even the week after that one. And even the following week after the week after the week after that. Because consistency is key. And I intend to be very, 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 very consistent. My name is Tunde Young. Don't say about me. He's here in spirit. Even though not in physical. We'll come back to you next week with the latest and greatest in the world of sports. Please look out for all the cuts on social media. If you like to get your sporting information and entertainment in tidbits, we have something for everybody. If you prefer longer form content, we have something for everybody on the YouTube channel. Check out the Spotify page, engage with the content, build the channel. This is your chance. This is like buying Bitcoin in 2009. That's exactly what this show is. So this is your chance to be a founding member of the biggest sports show in the world. Take it from me. Thank you very much for working with me. I appreciate you. Until next week, my name is Tunde Young. Peace, love, prosperity, health, wealth. Do everything I told you to do, including subscribing and sharing. Adios.